Welcome to the basic introduction to theory of knowledge, and we'll take a look at what student assessments are in this program. So to answer the question, what is the theory of knowledge? Basically, the theory of knowledge is central or in the core of the IB program in terms of its diploma program. If you're doing an IB diploma, it's a mandatory course, but it can be taken by any student in grade 11 or any student in grade 12. Right now, the program is a half credit grade 11 and a half credit in grade 12 for a total of 1 credit. Now, theory of knowledge has a different structure from other IB courses and as a result is assessed differently. When students first start the course, the initial question that most of them have is this a philosophy course? Is it a humanities course? Is it more to do with something in the sciences? Or is it more of a skill-based course that's designed to help you study and pick up skills like an introduction to university course? Well, the simple answer to all those questions is essentially yes. But really, the fundamental question that's asked in the theory of knowledge course is the how question. How do we know? This is a provocative question and very different than the what do we know question that most other school-based, including IB courses, address. This course is a very discussion-based course and encourages logical discourse, debate, and questioning. In essence, this is very much an epistemology course like those offered in introductory university programs. So how do we do that? How do we study in that way? Well, there are 2 main components broken up over the 2 years. The ways of knowing, which is studied in grade 11, and the areas of knowledge, which is studied in grade 12. In addition to this, the course strives to look at the connections between those 2 things and have students examine themselves as knowers of knowledge. We identify knowledge issues or knowledge questions that come up and detect assumptions that are built into their IB learner profile. We analyze the counterargument to their personal opinion and discover real-life situations where all of this applies. The IB diagrams the theory of knowledge course like this, that the learner is at the center of the diagram, very much like its own diagram of courses. Surrounding the learner are the 8 ways of knowing studied: language, emotion, imagination, faith, intuition, memory, reason, and sense perception. The IB actually requires that 4 of these 8 ways of knowing be taught. I usually try to teach as many as possible, but I absolutely make sure I cover the core 4, which is sense perception, language, emotion, and reason. Surrounding that in the grade 12 course, we study the 8 areas of knowledge, including mathematics, natural sciences, human sciences, religious knowledge systems, indigenous knowledge systems, ethics, the arts, history. Again, the IB really only requires that 6 of these areas of knowledge be studied, and I always, again, try to teach as many as possible, but I make sure I cover mathematics, natural sciences, human sciences, the arts, history, and ethics. So what are the assessment expectations of your average TOK student? Well, because of the nature of the subject, it's a participation-based course, discussion-based course, opinion-based course, and challenging each other. This is a possible potential problem in the classroom, so I try to make sure that it's a safe environment where opinion is valued, but at the same time can be challenged in a respectful way. Okay? I have the right to end any discussions that start getting out of control. And students should feel free to come and see me if they feel that the discussion is something that they're uncomfortable with. This is a recognized IB course, and in fact it's recognized by many universities for an introductory philosophy credit. And if you're getting an IB diploma, it is a mandatory program in the core and contributes to the overall IB diploma points. So the IB presents what it calls its diploma points matrix that shows that the theory of knowledge, shown here, is on a program matrix along with the extended essay here. Okay? So if a student, for example, gets a B on the theory of knowledge course and a C in the extended essay, they would get 1 extra diploma point on their diploma. Obviously, if they get an A and an A, they would get 3 extra diploma points on their diploma. Now, in addition to this, this number of points can affect certain universities. So for example, at the U of M, you see here the total number of diploma points puts them into various tiers, which allows them to increase the amount of scholarship amounts that students can receive. So diploma points matter to students, especially those preparing for certain universities. Now, the IB recommends, and this school follows, that TOK is offered in the second semester of grade 11 and then the first semester of grade 12. So the two courses stream together, spanning 2 years of the IB program as close together as possible over the 2 years for a total of 1 credit. We are trying to expand these half credits into full credits as are offered in other schools. It's just a timetabling issue that we're working on right now. So this means that other than any anticipated courses completed in the grade 11 year, TOK will be the first grade 12 completed IB credit done completely in the first semester, unlike all other IB subjects were completed in the May examination period. So how it's assessed is basically there are a number of school-based assessments that contribute to interim and final reporting grades in school-based marks. But like all IB subjects, their final IB mark is based on 2 basic assessments, an internal and external examination. The external examination is an essay worth about 67% of their total grade, and then a presentation worth about 33% of their total grade. Now here's how the IB describes these 2 assessments, that in journeying across the sea of knowledge, the student will receive 2 pieces of luggage to take the journey. One is the TOK essay, which is a bag packed for you on your journey. This is because the IB does not allow you to select a title for your essay. They give you a choice of titles to choose from, okay? So you must unpack this title and work with it yourself. The other bag would be one you pack yourself, which is the TOK presentation. This is because you can select your own topic for this presentation from anything, and you pack it yourself. So in more detail, the TOK essay is about 1,200 to 1,600 words, written on one of the titles prescribed by the IB, asking generic questions about knowledge, cross-disciplinary in nature, and can reference any part of the TOK course or specific parts. The presentation is done as an individual or can be done in groups up to 3 people during the course and is a maximum of 10 minutes per person. This allows you to, again, explore knowledge raised in specific real-life situations in areas that are interesting to the students, okay? Again, this is a more personal presentation, again, focusing on TOK content, but both of these assessments focus on something called knowledge questions. So to a student, when I explain what a knowledge question is, we start with a knowledge claim. Knowledge claims are the statements that say, I know, right? Like, I know something, okay? So these examples happen in most of your subject areas. That's what schooling is about, is increasing the number of knowledge claims you can make and you can act on. We discover or we learn knowledge claims. When you make a knowledge claim, you are essentially taking responsibility for it by making the claim that you know something. What TOK does is it examines the specific knowledge claim you make, not under the umbrella of the subject area so much, but in terms of questions that come out about the knowledge in more specific how type questions. Not what you know, but how do you know that, okay? So it enters a more philosophical realm by asking those type of deeper, more philosophical type questions. They're definitely more open-ended, definitely about the nature of knowledge, and they raise the relationships between knowledge and other TOK type concepts. To connect in real life situations into the TOK world, basically you start with these knowledge questions that are extracted from the real life situation, and then by working with them, they might develop and progress or develop other real life other knowledge questions, which can again lead back to more or different real life situations that apply to this. So let's take an example. How do we construct a knowledge question? Well, the TOK guide has many subject-specific ways to do this. So for example, in mathematics, here you see a number of different things that are offered in the TOK curriculum guide specifically about mathematics. And this applies to many subject areas. So for example, we can look at key terms within mathematics. We can describe how mathematics uses models under its scope, under its methodology. We could say that it's a statement is true only if it is proved. We could look at the history of mathematics, etc. So there's lots of ways we can look at the knowledge in mathematics in terms of a framework. Once we have that, we can start raising specific open-ended questions about knowledge within mathematics. Like, is mathematics invented or discovered? Is mathematics really out there in the world? And then if it is, where can we find mathematics? Okay? These are just some types of knowledge questions in that realm. Then we can sort of narrow this further into practical areas, like what could we study, like mathematics in nature as a practical study, the beauty and elegance in mathematics as a practical area of study. Okay? And then from these, we can develop real life examples. For example, a student might write, this one time in IB math class, and then go on to specifically lay out the real life example. Okay, so let's take a sample look at some of the student assessments done in Theory of Knowledge. So this year in TOK, these are the 6 titles that students are required to choose from for their TOK essay. So just to choose one, for example, the knower's perspective is essential in the pursuit of knowledge. To what extent do you agree? Or, in knowledge, there is always a trade-off between accuracy and simplicity. Evaluate this statement in relation to 2 areas of knowledge. So here are the type of questions and the type of essay topics that the student must choose from. To give you a sample of what students have written in the past for these types of essays, here's 3 quick excerpts from various essays over the years I've had within the TOK program. So just to read you a brief sample, knowledge by epistemological definitions can be defined as justified true belief. The knowledge issue of vocabulary can be defined as the body of words used in a particular language. But does it in fact encompass much more than this? Vocabulary could be described as the words and symbols shaping the way we think through the words and definitions available in our vocabulary, as well as the structures imposed by the limitations of vocabulary. Okay, so how does TOK relate to your IB subject area? Well, a requirement of teaching an IB subject is that you integrate theory of knowledge into the course content in some way. This is clearly covered in most new IB curriculums, and all subject areas now have a focus on this. So each new subject area in their curriculum at the beginning of the subject guide has a place where it outlines the connection between your subject and theory of knowledge. So for example, here's my other IB subject, computer science, and this is the section that specifically lays out how it connects to theory of knowledge. But that's not all. Within the curriculum itself, as you start to look through curricular points, you will find specific areas within your curriculum that often mention TOK and how it can be integrated in that specific criterion point within the curriculum. And that's how it applies. Thank you.